Welcome everybody back again to an episode of Heroes on the Mat. Today we have Chris Cole, working out of West Point, New York, current Army combatants instructor and a survivor of PTSD, currently on a journey and a mission to create a support group for members of any first responder or even just civilian world who have PTSD or any type of trauma that want to come talk, train jiu-jitsu, have a barbecue, and do a whole bunch of cool stuff. This is a great episode. I'm really excited. Chris, how's it going?
Oh, well, really appreciate being on here and really excited to tell my story.
Awesome.
Biggest thing I want to share is just the message that you're not alone, that, any trauma that you've had in your life, you can be open to talk about. It'll be a safe space where you can talk or not talk and just listen, do some jujitsu and enjoy a barbecue and enjoy some friendship. I came from Satellite Beach, Florida. I was born in Boston, lived in Long Island for about 14 years. My dad was an aircraft mechanic for Northrop Grumman. Moved down to Melbourne, Florida. That's where I went to high school, Satellite. I didn't join the Army right off the bat out of high school. I worked for Grumman during 2000 to 2008. Of course, when the towers fell in 9/11, I wanted to join. But I was married, had a family, and they really didn't want me to go. And they're like, you're doing your part by serving with Northrop Grumman. So I stuck with that. Around 2007, I got divorced. I had a 2-month-old daughter, and I tried getting other government jobs, but it just wasn't for me. And my uncle Marshall served at that time, was serving from 1991 until 2018 is when he served. So then I joined. I was kind of a reckless kid, so I only had a certain amount of jobs I could do. I raced cars, so I had something like 40 speeding tickets. So yeah, so then when I went down to the recruiting station, they had to give me waivers, and I literally had 3 jobs to pick from, which was combat engineer, infantry, or armor, and I chose armor. So then from there, I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where they said it was Disneyland, where dreams come true. I was absolutely incorrect. So yeah, that's what the lady told me. She's like, yeah, it's like man cave. My first shower was like 5 seconds. You got yelled at all the time. I was 28 years old, getting smoked all the time for younger kids. I started getting like really frustrated with these 18-year-olds getting me crushed all the time. At night, they didn't know I was like rubbing Bengay and icy hot all over my body because it was literally like 20 hours of getting smoked and trained, 4 hours of sleep. And your 4 hours of sleep weren't mandatory at the same exact time. It could be 1 hour breaks and doing
Oh, yeah,
things.
it's the worst.
It's awful. It's kind of like probably like police academy. You all get like hazed and whatnot. It's kind of the same way for us back, especially back in 2008. So I graduated from there, went to Fort Knox. Funny story, I got orders to Fort Irwin, California. And I was the oldest, so they gave me the paperwork for everyone to go, and it said Ontario, CA. And I'm an East Coast guy. I've never been to the West Coast. So I'm like, why are we flying to Ontario, Canada? That's what I thought. I'm like, why are we going to Ontario, Canada? I didn't know it was in Ontario, California. So we ended up in Ontario, California. No one was there to pick us up. We had to get a Greyhound, which we had to walk 2 miles with all our bags to a Greyhound in the hood. We got on a Greyhound that drove us to Barstow, California. Again, no one was there to pick us up. We finally got a ride to Fort Irwin, which I found out is the world's largest cul-de-sac. It's basically a huge 6 mile circle with a training area the size of Rhode Island. I was
Wow.
there yeah, it's huge. It looks a lot like Afghanistan. A very similar mountain range and terrain, wadis, deserts, all of the different. It could snow in one spot and be 75 degrees in another spot, which is very similar to Afghanistan, depending on where you're at. RC North, the Bagram area is more mountains. RC South was more like towards Pakistan, so it's more terrain of desert and whatnot, right? So yeah, I went from there, went to Germany. Germany is where I deployed. I deployed when I was 33. We didn't have tanks. We were on what's called a mobile gun system, MGS. We brought those, but because they didn't have the V-shaped hull with the IED protectants, we didn't take them. We would go out on what's called an ICV, which is an infantry carrying vehicle. And we basically went on rack clearance patrols with the engineers and ensured their safety while they cleared the roads. And that's what I did in my deployment. Did a bunch of other stuff, but that was mainly big thing we did is rack clearance. And then the other thing I did was a D7 dozer. So they would circle where an IED would be. I would say a prayer and drive my shovel through it and get blown up or not get blown up.
Oh my God.
That was my job. So it caused a lot of anxiety. I didn't realize how much of it caused to me till as I got older and realized, well, I did a lot of crazy shit and I didn't really think about it at the time. Because like I said, I'm a risk taker. I just go for it. And that's why I was really good at my combat job. So then from there, they gave me a break. They sent me over to Beaufort, South Carolina, Parris Island, where Marine Corps is trained, Parris Island Marines, and I was a recruiter for the Army in the Marine Corps land. So I was there for 4 years, and then I went to El Paso, Texas. That's when I deployed to South Korea. That's where I met my wife. Then I came to West Point, New York. I'm finishing out my career now. I'm actually getting medically retired for post-traumatic stress disorder because all that stuff I talked about in a short little bit, there's a lot more obviously to it, and it finally caught up to me. So I'm actually gonna make this my home. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to look up. So basically, I was looking up PTSD support groups, and I found out there isn't a PTSD support group at all other than the VA. And let's be honest, the VA is trash. So I'm gonna start. I was thinking about either calling it the Caleb Foundation because that's why I got this bracelet on my wrist. A soldier of mine who was like a son to me committed suicide 2 weeks ago because of post-traumatic stress disorder because the VA didn't get there in time for him, disappointments and whatnot. So I wanted to create a support group, go to different gyms, other jiu-jitsu gyms where I'll tell my story. Others can share their story, where it's like a safe space. Men and women, doesn't have to be veterans. It could be anyone that has a traumatic event, a school shooting, a traumatic event, which will cause post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be anything, loss of your dog, whatever it may be. So basically we'll talk. And then I have a buddy, his name's Jeffrey Hart, who's very knowledgeable about all that. He'll come with me and spill his piece and then do jiu-jitsu and have a barbecue. That's kind of my concept. I'm only in the concept phase at the moment. That's a little brief background about it.
Listen, that sounds awesome. Like jujitsu, talking, barbecue. Like I'm all in. Like
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really awesome.
a lot of men and women don't really, especially in the military, don't get the chance to express their emotions. When I grew up in the Army, you were, considered a pussy if you went to mental health. It was not a thing. So when I came back from deployment, I just went to the 3Js, which was Johnny, Jack, and Jim. That was my therapist. And I had a lot of problems that I never got to talk about. And it caused issues in my marriage. That's why I'm two-time divorced. But my wife now tolerates, she's been through a lot of my dark times. So I'm remarried and went through more stuff, but she's actually a very, very solid woman. She stayed with me, but I'll tell you, I had a lot of demons. And it's because for the longest time, the military really didn't see therapy as a thing, especially in combat arms. You were considered, it was a coward thing to do because it takes you out of the fight, which, if you think about an aspect, being mentally messed up takes you out of the fight to begin with. And you're not capable of leading and training soldiers. And what really got my PTSD spiked is when I lost Caleb. We were about to go to South Korea, so Caleb was like the influx of soldiers that would come right before you deploy because you never had a full tank platoon ever in the Army, which is 16 soldiers. You have 4 tanks in a platoon. So we got influx of soldiers. I put Caleb and Rosas in my section because I'm a Bravo section. There's 4 tanks, like I said. So Alpha section's platoon leader tank and the most senior tank commander other than me. The 2 tank leads the way. The 1 tank follows and, gives direction. 3 tank sits in the middle. 4 tank, which is myself, watches everybody. Make sure no one's doing anything stupid. So I put them in my section. So I built a bond with them, and that's I think that you definitely can understand being law enforcement. When you spend a lot of time with someone in a tank or in a car or wherever it may be, you build this weird close bond that even though when you leave and go to different duty stations, no matter what, when you get back to them, it's like you never left each other. And then when I found out what happened to him, it just in a way felt responsible because when I left my platoon, I was going through my own stuff and I didn't get the chance to really tell them like, hey, you could call me anytime. And I always tell them like, have a plan. Don't go back to where you came from because there's usually a reason why we joined. It's because there's problems back there. And, that type of stuff happens and it just sucks.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
You said something in there I've actually never heard before. The reason some people leave and join is because back home they're trying to escape something back home. Is that a common theme that you see?
Very, very common thing, especially during the surge. I mean, to be honest, someone like me wouldn't have been able to join the army right now with 1 million. So a lot of us had rap sheets, got in trouble, were risk takers, made mistakes, and then we rebirthed ourselves in the army. We learned discipline, we learned leadership and loyalty and honor and duty. And the problem is, with a lot of these kids go back home. I joined the army at 28, so if I did a 4 year contract, I'd have been 32. But a lot of these kids are joining the army at 18. They're only getting out at 22. They're still very receptive to anything, right? So if they go back home, they're going to get back with their old friends. They're going to get back doing their old stuff and their old bad habits. And then, boom, they're right back to that. Or in Caleb's instance, went back home to something that reminded him and they just never felt worthy. Or in other people's instance, they go back to where an ex-girlfriend was and then they get depressed and they eat a gun or whatever it may be. That's why I tell them to have a plan because you get a GI Bill. The first year you pay for your GI Bill. And once you get that GI Bill, you go to college anywhere and you can get E5 pay, so sergeant's pay, for the 9 months you're at school for 4 years because that's typically you take the summers off. You could do that anywhere. So why go back home when you ran for something? I know I ran for stuff back home. I ran from a lot of stuff for a long time, and that's why I'm going to a therapist. I have two kids that I haven't talked to in over 5 years because of my PTSD. I just didn't feel good enough to go back, and I wanted to get better before I talked to them again. I have a daughter who's got an eating disorder and bulimia because I was partially my fault, probably because I wasn't around and her mom wasn't taking care of her. I mean, talking about I missed like 17 birthdays. I missed everything. Let's just be honest. I was either training or fighting in a war. So that's the same thing for a lot of those kids. So when they go back to the same shit. And that's why it's better to go somewhere different. But for me, I wouldn't go back to Florida. Even though I talk about it all the time, I would not move back to Melbourne, Florida. I like Hudson Valley. My wife's a singer and a writer. I got a great home for jiu-jitsu called Black Hole HQ under Professor Mike Wacker. I love where I'm at. And why would I go back to what I ran away from when I'm rebuilding here? The problem with the Army is for a long time, you don't have roots. We don't put down roots. Fortunately, we have Facebook and Instagram where we can talk to each other. But
Mhm.
if we didn't have that, we would never see each other again. So you don't get to ever put down roots anywhere. And that's the problem with the military. I'm moving every 2 to 3 years. In those 2 to 3 years, I'm either training every month or I'm deploying or I'm going to NTC out in Fort Irwin, California, or I'm going to a school, or I'm doing this. So you don't ever get a chance to live like a normal life where you get to put down roots, have friends. This is the first place where I've had friends in a very long time. When I had another depression bout about mid-February. It was my daughter's birthday. I didn't really get to talk to her. It's the one that I haven't seen in years. So I went down another spiral. And about 2 weeks of missing jujitsu, my coach was like, "Hey, where the hell you at?" My other buddy's like, "Hey, where you at?" And if it wasn't for the fact that I set up, because I'm the NCOSC non-commissioned officer in charge of the combatives program at West Point, I set up already a private seminar for one of my buddies to come down. He's like, "Hey, I'm coming down." If it wasn't for that, I probably still would have been off the mats. So then I did that, and then the reason why I know about Heroes on the Mats is Mike Alissi is my buddy that I'm talking about. He's the one who's coming for the private. I've been training with Mike for a long time. I actually met Joe because he went up against Mike at the Fuji Albany tournament that I was in. I did the same tournament. I got my foot broken there. That's a different story. But that's how I met them. And then Mike got me back on the mats and keeps in touch with me. And then Coach Mike got me back on the mats, and my wife pushed me back on the mats. And here I am. I went from like 260 really quick back to 225 really fast because when I do train, and I might be a little obsessive, I train a lot. I train 6 times a week. I weight lift 5 times a week. So I use it as my therapy outlet, my anger outlet, I guess, to help me in a way. Other than like for the longest time was heavy metal music. A lot of people wonder why people mosh pit. We mosh in a way to let out our anger and frustration. Same that we do in jiu-jitsu, but we do in a controlled manner. If you ever watch a mosh pit, someone gets knocked down, we pick them right back up. It's not like stomping on them.
Yeah.
Same thing with jiu-jitsu. When someone goes to tap, you're not trying to kill your training partners, but at the same time, you're going hard, if that makes sense. And that's an outlet for us, especially for us that have trauma and frustration and not ways to express it.
I've met some of the coolest people ever in mosh pits.
Yeah. I just went to Bullet for My Valentine, Trivium, August Burn Red, and Bleeds Within at the rooftop here 3 days ago. And I got to meet Matt, who's my favorite ever artist. He's the front man for Trivium. My wife got me VIP tickets, and I was so nervous it was like a damn blur. But I went in there and took a photo, and then he wanted to square up. So at first I thought he meant like get in the middle of the photo. He's like, no, let's square up. So it went like this. So instinctively, I collar tie him because I'm so nervous. And then he instinctively collar tied me back, and that was the photo. I should be getting that back in a couple days. So that was kind of funny. I was so nervous. I don't even know what the hell happened. But you did sign, which my purple belt, when I do eventually get promoted to purple, I'll give that belt to Mike so you can put it on me and then I'll frame it because it was signed by Matt. And that's a black belt under Gracie Barra in Orlando. So he trains jiu-jitsu too. And then so he had this huge smile. It was really cool because he's like, you do jiu-jitsu? I'm like, yeah, I do jiu-jitsu. And it's cool to see someone that you idolize because I've listened to Matt's music, Trivium, since 2005 or 2003, something like that. So that's been my music forever. Whenever I've gone down, bedded down in the dumps, I always listen to Trivium. So it was really cool to be able to meet him. And on top of that, he does jiu-jitsu. So it's awesome. It was a great moment. Probably one of the best moments of my life.
I'm just imagining hitting a collar tie. Like
I was so nervous. I just instinctively grabbed his head.
he hits a Russian right after that, and then
Yeah, I was about to joke around and pull guard on him and go single X, but I didn't do that.
oh, that's hilarious. That is
Yeah.
so cool. You said August Burns Red was in the lineup, right?
Yeah, he does jiu-jitsu too.
I got my tattoo when I was 18. You know what?
Nice.
I'm forgetting from what song. It's the only tattoo I got. I remember I was 18. I think I saw a show of theirs. I forget where it was. Somewhere in Manhattan, like Pier 51 or something like that. And
Nice.
I've never heard of them before. My buddy brought me down. Never been in a mosh pit before. Coolest experience of my life. And I was going through, teenager stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, I went down the rabbit hole and then got attached to this one. I was like, oh, I'm going to get a tattoo. I was like, yeah, it's the lyrics. They've been like one of my favorite bands for a long time. I actually didn't know he did jujitsu.
Yeah, if you look up his name's Jake. Actually, this is my brand, Protagonist Athletic, where I gave him a t-shirt and Matt a t-shirt and some stickers and stuff because I thought it was cool he did jiu-jitsu. He's a white belt. I think he's like a second stripe white belt. He's been training with Matt for the last year on tour or whatnot. I think he trains a couple of the other guys. I think a guy from Bullet, the lead singer, I'm pretty sure, or one of them. I'm not really too. I know their songs, but I don't know them that well. I'm not a huge Bullet fan, but I know the songs. And then, but definitely Matt and Jake. Jake's awesome. He's a great frontman too. That was an
Yep.
amazing show.
Yep.
Because I myself never heard of August Burn Red, and I saw the tour, and I'm like, all right. I got on Spotify. I was like, okay, what's August Burn Red about? And I was like, oh, these guys are sick. And
Yeah.
then when I saw them live, I'm like, so now they're on my like top playlist.
Yeah. And a live show for August Burns Red, they are synced in. It's not, you know how sometimes you see a live show and you're like, not as good. Like they do a lot of mixing in the studio. Nah, man, they're solid. They definitely practice a lot. The drummer is phenomenal. Oh my god, the drummer is insane. I forget his name. I think it's Matt something.
Is it? He was phenomenal. They started out. They opened up with one of the System of Down songs. I can't remember which one it
Yeah,
was.
they remade it. Chop Suey, I
Yeah,
think it
Chop
was.
Suey.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
so good, man.
They
So good. So
they
good.
they did that, and they have Heathens too, which I thought was pretty sick too. They redo Heathens,
Yeah,
which is from
they do a lot of Christmas music too during the
do they?
seasons. Yeah, yeah. They do
How
they do a
this?
lot of cool stuff. A lot of people don't know they're and I didn't know this for a while. They're a Christian band.
I figured that out because his bio had that in there. I'm a born again Christian. I just got baptized actually a couple weeks ago, so I thought it was cool that
Congratulations.
he's. Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was cool. It's like that's another reason why I'm following him. Because I look for inspirational music, and Trivium's about inspirational music. August Burn Red, I guess they call it metalcore, emo, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a good music. I enjoy it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree. So let me ask you this question. Have you seen a resurgence of Christianity, people coming to faith like online on social media?
I have actually. Yeah, you see a lot of, especially on TikTok. TikTok,
Yes.
I get a lot. Like I looked up one or two, and now it's on my feed 24/7 from several people. Now I don't know how reliable some of the sources are, but no, I've seen a huge resurgence of Christianity coming
Mhm.
out. A lot of music. There's a lot of good music out there too. Like you're into rap, I used to play bass guitar a lot. So I'm into bass. So I'm into rap music. Obviously a lot of rap music you should have probably listened to, right? But like the band Lecrae is amazing. If you never heard of them, they're very good.
Mhm.
I just put on Lecrae radio and a bunch of them pop up like KB 100, Andy Menino. And there's a lot of phenomenal music out there that you can still listen to the music that you want to listen to. It doesn't have to be this gospel choir music that you get stuck on Sundays. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
I've seen a couple of rap songs. I think again on TikTok of like,
Yeah,
oh, Christian rap, and I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. And then you listen to it, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's actually really good.
there's some really good ones out there. Yeah, look up Lecrae. I think it's like Lecree radio, and just let that play for a little bit. You'll get some good stuff.
I definitely will. I was never baptized as a kid, but my mother was born again when I
Okay.
was like I think 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. And she went through some like mental health issues and stuff like that, and my parents separated, and it kept me away from like for the longest time up until like maybe 2 years ago. I was like religion. I was like I just try to keep it in the back of my. I didn't even think about it. You know, a lot of my couple of my friends are religious. They go to church. They would invite me. So I'm like, I'm good. I was at work. This was probably a year and a half ago, talking to a buddy of mine about my wife and I arguing, just kids growing up and stuff like that. We
Hmm.
we got three kids, three little ones. I'm always away at work and doing overtime, and she's on maternity, and I'm a new dad. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, and completely neglecting her, and all that stuff. And I'm asking my buddy for help, and he's like, "Hey, man, why don't you just read the Bible?" I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah,
"Read
you're
the
like, what?
Bible."
What's that mean? Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I'm
like,
with you.
he's like, "Read the Bible." He's like, one Sunday, why don't you guys just go to church? And I was like, maybe. And I was like, well, why do you say that? Like, what? Like, I'm interested. Like, now I'm intrigued. It's the first time I've ever heard something like that from somebody else other than my mom. And when my mom was when I was a little kid, I would always relate it to like, oh, she's just, she's not all there. She's doing fine now. She's doing wonderful. It's an
Yeah.
incredible journey she had. But I always had that negative connotation with it. And from there, started going down the rabbit hole. Went through my own struggles as a new dad and work and some other things in life. And I would say, I mean, I don't know if consider myself born again. I guess I don't know what the rules are. I'm still going through that journey, but you said it in your bio and I was like, oh, this would be interesting to kind of bring up. And then I'm seeing so many ties, social media. It's always showing up on social media. I started reading, I do one page a day of the Bible. I just try to get a page out of
Yeah.
the way. I'm at Exodus right now. So, I got a long ways to go, but I had to learn the
Yeah.
whole thing, man. Like what's Old Testament, what's New Testament in the Bible? Is it a book? Does it have a narrative? Like what is it? It's like no, it's actually a whole culmination of books inside another book. It's very interesting, man. It's kind of saved me from a lot of dark shit.
It does. No, so I'll share my story. My anchor always the faith because I, like you, was very skeptic about everything about the Bible. My brother's a pastor. I didn't even know Peter was a half brother to Jesus until like the other day. So I was very skeptic about the
I
Bible.
just I just learned that now.
Yeah, seriously, I didn't know either. So my anchor to Christ was always my mother too. So my mother, when she was 29, 30 years old, was diagnosed with a brain tumor and multiple sclerosis. So with multiple sclerosis, they get those attacks where their arms come up, and
Hmm.
she was going for like chemo and whatnot for the tumor. So I remember as a kid, we lived in Farmingville at the time. This when we still lived in New York. So it's like 1991, 92. She'd be on her this chair trying to fold clothes, and I'm just watching a 31-year-old woman wither away. And it was heartbreak, watch my dad, who was trying to work a full time at Grumman, raising three kids. He burned the hell out of the burgers, trying to like answer phone calls, tell my mom. I don't know how many times we ended up going to McDonald's because he burnt dinner. And he was really going through it. At the time, as a kid, you don't realize it. Now I realize what he was actually going through. He was really going through it. So we kept going to church, and I always thought it was my mom. It was called Word of Life. It was somewhere in Smithtown or something like that. So
Hmm.
we'd always go to Word of Life Church. And I always thought it was my mom going to church to be saved, and it was actually my father. My mom was just going there to meet her friend Denise and not really care about church. Let's just leave it at that. I won't dive into her what she was actually doing, but she was going there to see her friend Denise. My dad was get on his knees praying. So one time he finally got my mother to go up there. It was like one of those like really born again churches. We're talking like speaking in tongues, people touching heads and falling over. Me being like a little kid, I'd count how many people would fall over and whatnot. And I remember my mom was like, I don't fall over to this stuff. She went up there and got prayed on. And she fell over, and I was like, oh wow, mom went down. So then mom got back up. You know, dad helped her. She was like, really couldn't walk too well. And this old man grabbed her arm. Never seen this old man ever again. He's like, you're healed. And I remember seeing this guy. I'm like, what is she healed from? Yeah, and I'm little. So we go home, and then about 2 weeks later, I guess my dad comes back screaming, singing, and praising. There's no more brain cancer. There's no more multiple sclerosis. It's all gone. The doctors can't explain it. They said she's in remission. Probably come back in a couple years. Well, and that you should have moved to Florida because this is the time when my dad was supposed to take the job because Northrop just bought out Grumman, the big plant that used to be at Bethpage, down to Florida, and they had to take the job, or they were going to move to Vermont to start a bed and breakfast because leave my mom in the cold so her multiple sclerosis would come back. Well, they believed in faith. They went down to Florida. My mom's now 66 years old and has no signs of a brain tumor or multiple sclerosis. So it was a healing. And, I say this to some people and I get like weird looks sometimes, but that's been my anchor because, I don't know how else to explain it. My mom's still alive. She should have been dead a long time ago. And so, of course, I ran away from faith for a long time like you. I'd find faith in the foxhole, but then I'd get back home and go back to doing whatever I was doing. And then I'd find faith in the foxhole again, and then this again. And then finally, after my really dark spell that I had I found out that we lost Caleb. We found out we lost Caleb on Thursday. Saturday was my baptism, and that's when I gave my life to Christ. I'm like, all right, I'm all in. And that's what I did. I took the plunge. And what they mean by born again is being baptized like Jesus and
Hmm.
believing in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit and taking the plunge like Jesus Christ. And because Jesus himself was baptized by John the Baptist. So that's where the term born again comes from.
I got a lot
So
to learn still. I just learned a lot from that.
uh,
I had
yeah.
yeah, it's so cool, man. I rarely get to talk about like faith and people's stories because sometimes I don't talk about it either. I should talk about it more. I really should. Sometimes I don't though because I have a few stories. Everybody's got stories. They just might
Yeah.
not know it yet. They might not make the connection. But sometimes you get the crazy looks, but it's fine because they just don't. People just don't know yet. Like they haven't. Everybody's on their own journey. I had two Halloweens ago. It's actually the night before Halloween. I'm driving home. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I did a little bit of overtime, and I'm driving and I'm doing the head nod of
Uh-huh.
almost falling asleep. And I'm like 5 minutes from my house. So there's two ways to drive when you're almost asleep: really fast, so you can get there quick, or really slow. I'm driving really fast. I'm like, oh, I'm 2 miles away, punching it. I'm doing maybe 70 miles an hour down a 2-lane road that's split by a grass median. Now, and anybody listening to this, you'll know when you're driving on an expressway or a highway and you just come to and you're 6 exits down, you're like, what the hell just happened? Like I'm in that zone right there. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember doing it. I cut the wheel sharp to the left. Car spins 180 on the median, stalls. I look my one way to my left, I see a car driving down. And then it hits me. There was a car going the opposite way. And mind you, I'm doing like 70 miles an hour on a road where you should really be doing like 45, 50.
Yeah.
And they might have just got out of the bar because there's a bar just down there. And I've been to a lot of accidents, man. I've seen head-ons. I've seen 40 miles an hour head-on collisions. I 100% would not survive. It is unsurvivable. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt either because I'm an idiot. I 100% should be dead. Felt like a dream for like a minute, just sitting there in the car, thinking like I'm dead. Now, I snap out of it, and the cop in me turns on, I start chasing after this guy, driving. I'm in my personal. What am I gonna do? I'm in my personal. I'm calling 911. I'm on the Bluetooth. I turn it back on. I'm like, oh, I'll never forget it. He was in a white Honda Civic, and I'm like, I want to rip this guy apart. And I was like, my kids almost just didn't have a dad. I would have never like. I just worked overtime. What is this for? I was so pissed off. And again, I don't know what came over me, but I just like chilled out of nowhere, and nothing prompted it. No music, no nothing. The guy was gone. Something in my body just like chilled me out. Get home, wake my wife up. It's like 4:30 in the morning, crying, uncontrollable crying, hugging the kids, kissing the kids. I should
Yeah.
1,000% be dead. I should not be here right now. And I didn't even make the connection of why I turned the wheel to the left. I mean, I was half asleep. Like there's just no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
And it's you can't. There's no other explanation for. I refuse to believe there's any other explanation for it. And that was like 2 years ago. Then I have the conversation with my buddy, and then his conversation with me. I would have never received it if I didn't have that experience. So I received it a little bit, and then he's like, "Yeah, man, just start reading the Bible." And then I start reading it, and there's a couple times where I spiral down and I stop reading it or whatever. But then it always comes back. Something always happens. It always comes back. I remember one night, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, I'm having a full blown panic attack. No idea why. And I've never really been a prayer. And I just start praying. I was like, I just don't want to die. Just don't want to die. Just don't want to die. All comes down. And I'm like, there's just too many. It's not a coincidence. Like, I'm a firm believer. It's just not a coincidence. So it's cool to hear somebody else's story because I don't get to talk about it a lot. And a lot of people just on social media, they're starting to talk about it. I see the resurgence of it. It makes me happy. And I see it too, maybe in law enforcement. Like, do you see it in the military? Like people coming back to it, people being open
Oh
about it?
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Very open about it. All faiths too. Especially at West Point, they got churches for every faith there. Very open about it. And for you, like I joke around, your guardian angels is working overtime. I always joke around that we have guardian angels, and mine is working overtime all the time.
Yeah,
So,
mine
so,
too.
so, because I made stupid decisions in cars too, where I should have been dead, going
Yeah.
100 miles an hour to 45 because I'm just stupid, spinning out, almost hitting guardrails, and just yeah, you just had that moment of clarity. You're like, what am I doing? And
Yeah.
then so yeah, no, I'm with you. You definitely have a guardian angel working overtime. Mine works overtime too. Probably getting really tired of my shit. It's like, yo, calm down, man. You're 45 years old. I don't see myself calming down anytime soon, but I'm doing a lot better with it at least. I focus it now on jujitsu. I love like jujitsu's been my outlet. It's been my outlet for 6 years now. It's how long I've been training. And I started jujitsu because I was a recruiter in the army, and I hate running. And then a recruiter in the army doesn't have to do PT, so I was just powerlifting. And then I said, no, I'm 260 pounds. I'm like, okay, I got to do some form of cardio. I can't just eat weights and protein all day. So that's when I started jujitsu. I remember my first couple years was nothing but gi. And I don't know if you ever done gi or just know gi, but gi jiu-jitsu, you got to grip everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my forearms would be so blasted, like pumped, because I didn't know how to relax. I'd just be like trying to hold on to someone with dear life. And next thing you know, I'm getting choked out or whatnot. So that was my first couple of years of jiu-jitsu. I've been around a lot of different gyms because fortunately being in the military, I've got to go to different places. So I started training in South Carolina. Then where did I go from there? I went to Texas. I was training there. Then I went to South Korea, which was really cool. I got to train there under a black belt named Chris Kim. He was a really awesome guy. This guy is an American that trained for, I think, 11 years on the Tony Passos. Tony Passos is a big black belt up in Virginia. He went back to Seoul, Korea. He's half American, half Korean, wanted to go back to Korea. He would drive from Seoul to Camp Humphreys, which is about an hour, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays to train on soldiers. And it was so awesome. It was like $60 a month. And it was literally right there. So we did jujitsu like, all the time there. And then there was another gym across the base called Cobra Kai, where all the military guys would get together too. So there was jujitsu all the time out there. It was amazing. So I got to experience a lot of different gyms, but out of all the gyms I've been to, Black Hole's where I really found home. I don't know if it's just the way Mike is with his mindset. It's a very competitive gym. We have one kid there named Matt Mash, who, if you look him up, he's the combat jiu-jitsu champion twice now in Mexico. He won once in Tijuana, I want to say, and then the other time Mexico City. He's this 19-year-old kid just
Wow.
slapping. He beat Ben Eddie the last time. Just slapped the hell out of Ben Eddie, who's a
Dude,
big boy.
and he's good. He's listen. The guy's got a bunch of highlight reels on YouTube. That's incredible.
Yeah, if you look up Matt Mash after this, you'll see he's an incredible, amazing kid. He's only 20 years old. Amazing athlete, like a phenom. Like when you get to train him or watch him train, his intensity level never slows down. His gas tank is forever. Where the rest of us, I'm like, yo, I'm pulling guard after round three because we do like 6 minute rounds every time we've done class. So I'm like, yeah, I'm pulling half guard by like round three,
Yeah,
which I
me
call
too.
my old man jiu-jitsu, which I watch a lot of Tom the Blast videos of old man jiu-jitsu because I'm like, I'm tired. So, but this kid is just go. We have a lot of them like that. We have a lot of amazing athletes there. They're competing today at the grappling industry in Brooklyn. So I'll check them out later, see how they did. But Mike Wacker is amazing, amazing coach, and saved my life in a lot of aspects. Because when I showed up at his gym last year, again, I was like 265 pounds. He had a multiple sclerosis event because his best friend AJ has multiple sclerosis, and every year, which this year is May 17th, they have 9 black belts come from the different black hole gyms and other gyms and train techniques, and all the money goes to multiple sclerosis. So I went to that event because of my mother, and then I found that as my home, and I stayed there. And I went from 265, and I'm sitting right now like 215 because of how intense he trains and how he inspires us, and how like my diet's changed because of the way he talks and my motivation, how I train. I used to like, like roll and kind of bullshit in your rolls as you're talking to people. There's no talking allowed. It's straight like 5, 6 minute rounds. Shut up. Don't do it. You can talk after.
Yeah,
And it's like very military, I guess, in a way. And I thrive off that. So I love it there.
I like that. There are a lot of I've dropped in at a lot of gyms just with my work schedule. Like I'll go. Sometimes I'll hit the city. I'll hit Nassau County, Suffolk County, and you could see the difference in the gyms. You could see like some gyms more laid back, and that's fine if that's your style. But
yeah, yeah.
I like a good, fast pace. Like a
No, that's what I like too. I'm there for a purpose. I mean, if your
yeah,
purpose is to be a hobbyist, there's tons of gyms out there like that.
right,
And
100%.
Mike's gym accepts that. Like he'll accept if you're a hobbyist, and he'll still expect you to train as hard as the competitors. But he's not, it's not like the other gyms where it's like if you're not a competitor, okay, can't come here. Or if you're just a hobbyist, we don't want competitors here because, they don't want us to, I guess, in a way, beat up the black belts. Because there's certain gyms where I've been to where they didn't want me to come back because I could do that, and I'm only blue belt. So then, things like that happen. So that's why I love the intensity of his gym, and he's super nice to everybody. But he's extra harder on the ones that are competitors. Because I remember sometimes I would be lazy, and he'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing, Chris?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, I gotta get moving." Because I'd be just sitting in half guard, just kind of chilling, catching my breath, and he's like wants me to wrestle up or whatnot. So then I'm like, "All right, he's watching me. I gotta get up." Now he won't do that to the hobbyists, but the ones that compete, he's on our ass 24/7 about, working, having a purpose, and the reason why you're there every time.
Yeah, I ask for that a lot. Like during my roles, like if I'm getting ready, or if I'm just trying to have a day where I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to BS today. Like I'm trying to get the work in. I'll ask somebody who's sitting down. I'll be like, yo, listen, if you see me like you'll know when I'm like taking a break. Like tell me stop it. Like kick a gear up because bottom half guard is like where I chill. Like that's
Hmm.
yeah. And listen, I can make all the excuses I want, saying like, no, I'm here. I'm gonna hit an arm drag. Like, all right, well, stop talking and hit the damn arm drag.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you don't have a partner in between rounds, he'll stop and make us do burpees. Like he doesn't want us sit. Some
Oh,
people sit on the mat and do this. He's like, no, stand up, pick a partner, get back down and roll. Sometimes the big guys won't get partners, and then he'll just stop it right there. Or some of the upper belts that some of the lower belts don't want to train with, they'll stop us right there, and we're going right to burpees. So it teaches you to be serious. There's a reason why you're there. The intensity's there for a reason, and to have purpose while you're training, which is exactly what you should be doing,
yeah,
especially if you're a competitor.
I agree. I definitely agree. So this, what's the name of the idea that you have going on right now, where you do a little bit of jujitsu, talking, and then the barbecue?
So I think I'm going to call it "You're Not Alone." You are not alone, and because a lot of us with PTSD and trauma feel alone, feel like they don't get understood. people don't understand me because
Yeah.
I deployed. People don't understand you because only cops can understand you. But which is untrue. It's just how we, rationalize it in our head. So what I want to do is go to have start a support group called You're Not Alone and use different gyms. Like I'm going to use Black Hole Walden as my main facility because it's close to me, but I would like to travel to other gyms. I'm going to talk to a guy named David Branch called Branch Jiu-Jitsu down in Hoboken, see if he's interested. And what I want to do is set up once a month where I go to different gyms, tell my story, have whoever runs that gym teach you a little bit of a class, have an open mat, a barbecue, and give it time for others to also, when I open up, if someone feels the need to want to speak and wants to, then they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. There's no pressure. But there's nowhere around for people like us with post-traumatic stress to talk to anyone. I literally looked it up. In my area, there's nothing. There is nothing here. There's some online therapy.
That's so
There's the
crazy.
there's the
I would never
VA.
think that.
There's not. Look it up. I couldn't find nothing. And there's AA for alcoholics. There's substance abuse places for substance abuse disorders. They got now mental facilities for anorexia and bulimia and other schizophrenia and all this stuff. But there is nothing for PTSD. I looked it up. There's no really support group. I'd have to go to an AA for a support group, which maybe there are some people at AA there for PTSD. But I would like to have an environment where it's not therapy because a lot of people get scared with the word therapy, and I'm not a therapist. All I'm doing is sharing my story. If you want to share your story, we're there to listen, give a big hug, cry, whatever, and then we'll move on to some jujitsu where, that builds bonding, where while and it builds confidence because that definitely has built a lot of confidence for me. I always joke around when someone like cuts me off in the car. I'm like, most blue belts are 99% lethal, more lethal than the average person. I just joke around like that, but it's true. We actually could kick some ass to a normal person. So it instills confidence. And that's why I would like to instill confidence, camaraderie, brothers, sisters getting together, talk about different traumas, and then we share jujitsu. And then we can open up in a calm setting where you're just having a barbecue, where it's relaxed. Some water, some sodas, have a barbecue, stay if you want and eat, leave if you want. And I would like to do that at different facilities on top of doing it at Black Hole and make it a thing. And then eventually start what I call the Caleb Foundation, a nonprofit where I could get money raised for this, maybe expanding it eventually and have support groups for PTSD because there ain't nothing out there. And I suffer from it daily, and I do my best to deal with my demons, but there's nowhere really for me to talk. And I'm in the talks with this guy, Jeffrey Hart, we call him Coach J Hart, up in Wappingers. He's fully supported. I met this other guy, Mike, and I'm going to do my best to start this network. It's going to take a little time, but because like I said, I literally thought about this 2 weeks ago when I found out like the surrealness hit on me. I'm getting medically retired out of the army. What do I do next? And that scares me because I've only known army now for 17 years. Now I'll still get my benefits and the pay and stuff, but what do I do? I'm only 45. It's not like I'm dead and retired. It's not like I can just be done forever. So this was my idea that I'm going to try to roll with. And I feel like after my baptism, it was my calling. You know, Everyone gets a calling sooner or later, and I feel like this is it. So that's why I'm running with it. And I'm using my
People
brand.
know about it now after they watch this.
Yeah, and I'm using my brand Protagonist. I want to one day open up a gym called PJJ, Protagonist main character, be the main character of your story. So that's why I started a brand. That's why I got the little King Kong at Empire, because when I was a little kid, I grew up in Long Island and always dreamed of having a business in New York City. Always loved King Kong and Godzilla, so why not put King Kong choking out an Empire? So that's where it started from with this, and then it branched into I want to own a gym one day. And that's what I'm going to call PJJ. And then when my friend passed away, and I started getting medically retired, and found out that like this is really going to happen, and in a year from now I'll be out of the army. I was like, well, I need a support group to talk to somebody. So I chat GPT. There's nothing. I'm like, man, the only thing you have is the VA, and the VA it's hit or miss. Who are
Yeah.
you going to get? They see so many vets. It's probably like they're numb to it by now. There's just too many of them. So why not vets help out vets or Leos help out Leos or humans is about humans by being there for one another. And then at the same time, instill some confidence in jiu-jitsu and then have a barbecue to make it kind of a chill, relaxed environment. So it's not pressured with therapy because I can tell you, I didn't really fully take on therapy until about maybe 2 months ago. I remember
Mm.
I came back from Afghanistan. I bullshit. They're like, yeah, you see any dead bodies? I'm like, nope, I saw nothing. That was a total ass lie, but I didn't want to go down that route of therapy. And then, next thing you know, I remember I lived right by this range. I'm going to throw out my trash and I hear boom, and I just dropped straight to the ground. Or like when I came home, the next day was Thanksgiving. And here is everyone bullshitting and having a good time at Thanksgiving. I'm just sitting here like, I was just in Afghanistan 24 hours ago, and I ended up going home. I'm like, I can't do this right now. I'm just not there yet.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people like that, and that's why I would like to start something to help others. So you don't have to go down the route of Jimmy, Jack, and Johnny, and whatever other pills or weed or whatever else is to make the pain to go away. Because what sucks is when you get off that substance, the pain's still there.
Yep.
So you got to find another way, and that's why I was going through Christ, Jiu-Jitsu, and that's why. But I'm not gonna make it just Christ. And like at first, I was thinking about doing Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, but not everyone's a Christian. So I was like, why not just call it "You're Not Alone"? There's no fake involved. We're just here to support one another, talk about our stories, bond over Jiu-Jitsu and choking each other out or whatnot, and then eat some food. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna take it from there. That's the goal. And
That's
we'll
the
start.
coolest. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of the coolest things I've heard in a while about setting up some type of just peer to peer connection. I'm a firm believer that jujitsu can answer a lot of questions for people and maybe not solve problems, but it's gonna get you in the right direction. You
it
know.
does. And it also it releases endorphins. It makes you
Mhm.
feel better. You ever go to jiu-jitsu at first, you're like, man, I'm tired as hell. I don't want to be here. I don't want to go to class. I don't want to do this at all. But that's where you got the mindset of that's how champs are made, right? You got to do it when when it's hard. You got to do it when you're tired. Obviously not when you're sick, but if you're tired or you had a long day at work and a lot of things are going down the pipeline, you're just not feeling it. You ever had a bad class afterwards? No, right? You felt good. You felt
Yep.
good about it. You felt good about yourself. You had some camaraderie, you joked around, ankle locked somebody, maybe caught an upper belt in a submission for the first time after you kicked your ass 100 times. You feel good about it. So why, stop that? That's why I decided why not go a different route instead of just therapy, therapy, therapy. We can talk a little bit. Maybe it doesn't even have to be long. I'll share my story. If anyone else wants to share, they can share. If not, we'll move on to jujitsu. Not a big deal. It's just there. It's an open format for communication for individuals to express how they're feeling. It's going on, why they have trauma going on. And like I said, trauma comes in many shape, forms, and fashion. It's not just veterans and Leos and firefighters and EMTs that see shit. The normal average person sees things too. Like
Yep.
you said, car accidents, for example. That's a big trauma one. My wife has trauma from that. She lost three of her best friends to a car accident when she's 21, and she's still not over it. It's going to be a part of her forever. And why not have an open format where people can express the pain or talk about how awesome those people were that they lost or whatnot. So that's my plan.
That's really cool, man. That's very cool. For people watching right now, once this gets posted, the link or profile or whatever, just click the more section, open it up. We're gonna have a full bio about that. If you're interested about that, reach out to Chris. It's one of the coolest things I've heard of. I can't believe they don't have a support group, but then it makes sense what your solution to it, especially in the jujitsu realm, because it's becoming very popular. I see so many things becoming popular and mainstream. I see jujitsu becoming popular and like I guess mainstream. I see, people turning back to religion and having like, some type of like value system. I see a lot of people not boozing anymore. Like I see
Hmm.
even just the last year, like my whole work group and friend circle and everything like that, it was a common theme of just go out, couple drinks, go out, couple drinks, hard day, couple drinks. There's so many people I see, and we didn't even have a discussion about it. It's just like, no, nobody's drinking right now. Listen, call it God, whatever you want. I don't know. I believe something. The energy is in the air of something shifting. Maybe Trump getting elected. Maybe that has something to do with it. You know.
It could be, and you're right. Like we went to that Trea concert last week because my wife and I both stopped drinking. It was our first sober concert, and we had fun. I still mosh pit. I didn't need alcohol to go have fun. For the longest time, I thought I needed some form of substance to go have fun or to let loose, and you don't actually need that when you realize. Like I went to that concert sober. I drank water the whole time. And I had a great time. I still mosh pit. I still sang all the songs. I still threw people in the air when they were crowd surfing. It was a good time. And you don't need all that when you come to realization, when you're young, you think you need all that because this is how you're brought up or that's how society is. You see all the advertisement for smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol. And you see, like, remember the Marlboro Man. So you want to be cool like the Marlboro Man. And yeah, it's really not that cool, to be honest with you. Lung cancer and losing your liver is not really cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather keep them.
Yeah. Me too. I met
Yeah.
some of the coolest people, man, in jiu-jitsu gyms and mosh pits.
Yes.
Some of the
Same here.
coolest people. Yeah.
So, and they look mean as fuck, some of them. Some of you look like, dude, this dude is good. Like, people get scared to roll me because I'm like, when I'm not competing, I say like 225 and I'm tatted as fuck. So everyone's like, oh shit, some guy in a prison or something. But I'm one of the nicest guys you'll roll with. Like, I won't hurt you. But I look like I could kill you. That's why it's funny, right? And I see some guys, like we have this one guy named Melis. Melis, an MMA fighter and jiu-jitsu and sambo. He's from Turkmenistan. This dude, if he wanted to, could kill you. But he's such an awesome role. He'll stop you and be like, you should do this. You should do this. After rolling him for a couple months, I actually took him down once. And that was the first time I ever took him down where it wasn't him teaching me. I was like, holy shit, I took down Melis. It was like a big confidence booster. And it's all because he takes that time to teach you. But at the same time, he could absolutely murder you if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's what's so awesome about the sport of jiu-jitsu. Even if you're just a hobbyist, you get to learn. And like I said, it instills discipline, confidence, motivation. It gets you a new set of goals instead of like sitting at home and playing the computer or video games all day or doom scrolling. That's a big one is doom scrolling. So many people doom scroll when they could just get off the couch. And that's why they say the hardest belt to get is the white belt because you're actually doing something that you're probably petrified about. You have no confidence about. You're going to get off the couch for the first time and you're going to go step into a mat. That's the big, big step. That's definitely the hardest belt to get, in my opinion, is the white belt because you're getting out of your comfort zone, which a lot of people don't do is get out of their comfort zones. There's some people like me that just go YOLO and jump out of comfort zones all the time. And there's others that don't though. And the ones that don't and then actually do, that you'll see like the biggest smiles on them. Like I was rolling with a guy the other day that's some engineer, never ever done anything competitive and he actually had a great time rolling and he's gonna keep coming back. So he got
Yeah.
out of his comfort zone and realized he enjoyed it.
I think a lot of people would enjoy it. I think even if you're watching this right now, for anybody watching this, I don't care if you're 60 years old. I don't care if your kid is 5 years old and he's timid. I don't care if you're socially anxious. Like, there's a spot for everybody, man. There really is. And so many gyms have like a culmination of people. Like, oh, there's the guy who's the cop. Oh, there's the guy who's the computer nerd. Oh, there's the guy who's this. Or there's the girl who's this. Or like, oh, here's the girls that come in and they all work here. Like, and it's people that would never be friends like anywhere else. Like different political beliefs, different this,
No,
different that. And you're
it's
all
true.
chill in the gym.
Yeah, my favorite one's the cop and the stoner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You got the purple belt stoner versus the white
yeah.
belt cop. I love that one.
Always a purple belt too. Always. I noticed that. Always
No,
a
but
purple.
you're right. Every shape, form, of fashion of people out there get together, and that's what's cool about it. And you could be 60 years old. I'm a 45-year-old still competing. Like you don't have to be any age. I saw a guy win Masters World at like 76 or 67 or something like that. That's
Oh, it's
you know,
incredible. It's incredible.
I'm a firm believer of keep working as you get older, or you're just gonna die. Like
Yep.
I don't see myself ever retiring. Like because I constantly want to keep moving and do something. I don't want to sit home and wait for death to knock on my door. I'm going to keep doing things.
Yeah.
So, I'm a firm believer of working, even when I retire.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you can find me from at Lion from the North on Instagram handle. So it'd be at Lion from the North underscore 80. Or you can find me at Protagonist Athletic Wear on Instagram as well. And you can see in the bio, I have both links in bios where you can see my concept of the jiu-jitsu that I'm trying to do. I'm actually in an ink mag trying to win 25,000 to raise money that way. It's kind of money grab thing, so I might not win that, but it's there if you want to just do a free vote. But I found out because this one lady had terrible tattoos and she's beating me right now. I'm like, there's no way this is a tattoo competition. This is definitely something else. But whatever. But you can find me definitely from those two. Like I said, at line from the north underscore 80 or protagonist athletic wear. I have both the links in there about my concept of what I want to do, where I want to start a support group about any kind of trauma people want to talk about, do some jujitsu and then eat food afterwards, build a community where you feel safe to share your emotions and feelings and not feel like it's therapy.
That's the coolest thing, man. So for anybody watching this right now, click the description, go to more, and you'll have all those links in the description. Chris, man, this has been a good conversation. We
Yeah, I
went
really
deep, we
enjoyed it.
pulled it back, and this is awesome. The next one will be in the studio.
Yeah, I'll come with
Go
my
deep.
wife. You'll get to hear her story. She's got a lot to tell too. And she would love to come talk for sure.
I love it. I love it. Awesome.
All right.
Well,
All
thank you
right.
very much again.